So how did you get into coaching?
It was actually through my own personal downfalls. So I was in grad school and I was on track to be a professor. So I thought I ended up leaving my 15-year marriage through having an affair. My next relationship wasn't working and he was moving out of the house that we had moved into. And I was on the floor crying one night and I was like, my relationship life sucks. And I had this critical moment where I was like,
You're currently listening to Dr. Amanda Barrientez, who is the founder of NFA Coaching, which stands for No Fucking Around. She helps people with their mindset, habits, and business development. I'm excited about our conversation. It's pretty deep, it's pretty intense. So let's get this thing started. Let's get after it. This is Your Superior Self, episode 90. No Fucking Around with Dr. Amanda Barrientez. There were many similar surprises in store for new arrivals. The medical men amongst us learned, first of all, textbooks tell lies. Somewhere it said that man cannot exist without sleep for more than a stated number of hours. Quite wrong. I had been convinced that there were certain things I just could not do. I could not sleep without this, or I could not live without that, or the other. The first night in Auschwitz, we slept in beds which were constructed in tiers. On each tier, measuring about 6.5 to 8 feet, slept 9 men, directly on the boards. 2 blankets were shared by each 9 men. We could, of course, lie only on our sides, crowded and huddled against each other, which had some advantages because of the bitter cold. Though it was forbidden to take shoes up to the bunks, some people did use them secretly as pillows, in spite of the fact that they were caked with mud. Otherwise, one's head had to rest on the crook of an almost dislocated arm, and yet sleep came and brought oblivion and relief from pain for a few hours. And that excerpt was taken from the book Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor E. Frankl, which is a book of his experiences living inside of a Nazi death camp. And I know it's a little extreme for me to start out with that type of excerpt, especially with Thanksgiving this week. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yep, Kara says Happy Thanksgiving. But sometimes it takes extreme things like this to kind of wake me up out of the rat race that we're in and really appreciate things, or really kind of recenter myself and take a step back and realize that things for me are not that bad. And no matter where you're at in your life, even if you are suffering, the message of this book is consistent that through suffering you grow. And with Thanksgiving this week, I want to challenge you to really take a step back and be grateful for your situation, whatever that may be. Like, take a step back, take yourself out of the moment, and really reflect on your life. Really reflect on your loved ones, on your friends, even on your enemies, if you want to call them that. But really reflect on where you're at in your life and realize that everything happens for a reason. Everything is happening for you. And it's your decision to approach life in a certain way that will benefit you. Whether you want to look at it as you're the victim, or you want to look at it as you're going to take life into your own hands. I think it's all about mindset. And take a step back. And I challenge you to be grateful for everything that you have in your life, whether it's good or bad, because it's trying to grow you as an individual. Life is happening for you, not against you. And in this book, like, one of the biggest quotes, like one of the most meaningful quotes that he says is like, everybody wants to know, what is the meaning of life? Like, everybody asks that question. But he turns it around on me. He turns it around and says, what is your meaning to life? What are you going to bring to life? And I challenge you this week, with Thanksgiving right around the corner on Thursday, to really answer that question for yourself. Like, what are you going to bring to life? What meaning are you going to bring? Is it going to be a meaning of gratitude? Is it going to be a meaning of forgiveness? What is it going to be for you? And with that said, I want to say that I'm grateful for you guys. I'm thankful for you, the listener, and downloading this episode and hanging out with me each week and subscribing to every episode and actually giving me feedback on what is helping you guys out. I appreciate all of that, and I'm grateful for the people that I've met throughout this entire year with the podcast and how I've grown as an individual. And it's been a blessing, and I'm just wanted to let you guys know that I'm so thankful for you guys. Thank you. And if you want to learn more about the show, you can do that by going to yoursuperiorself.com and reading up on my background. You can sign up for the email list and get every episode sent directly to your inbox. You can follow me on Instagram at tdowns80 and on Twitter at downstrey, and hit me up on Facebook at Trey Downs, where you can see all the background stuff, all the behind the scenes, the family pics, Kara yelling in my episodes like she's doing currently. But yeah, I'm thankful for you guys. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Leave a rating and review. It helps me scale. It helps me get the content out to others who may need it. And yeah, I'm thankful for today's guest, Dr. Amanda Barrientez, who is the founder of NFA Coaching, who helps people thrive in their personal and professional lives. What makes Amanda unique is how she creates from coupling her social sciences training with her real life experiences of overcoming big challenges. 3 years ago, she was living in survival mode on food stamps, trying to work her way through grad school as a single mom. That's insane. I'm excited about this conversation, so without further ado, here is Amanda. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hey there. Thanks for having me on.
So what are you up to today? What's going on with you?
I just returned from 13 days of intensive learning with my main mentor and doing some facilitation. And so today was my regrouping day and getting back grounded. I actually slept 12 hours last night.
Really?
Which I didn't even know was possible.
Like what's your regular routine?
I usually get about 7 hours of sleep a night, and I wake up very early. I like to wake up between 5 and 6 and do my whole morning routine of exercise, meditation, journaling, and personal growth and development. And, today I just let myself not turn my alarm on and said, I need the rejuvenation. And I could not believe that I slept for 12 hours. It was pretty amazing.
I feel like a lot of people are getting into that morning routine. Like, what is it about yours that makes it different?
I don't know that it's any different. It's really interesting because when I ask people, so I have a Max Potential Habits podcast, and I always ask people their top 3 max potential habits that got them where they are. And they often will say a very similar morning routine, or that it is a morning routine that helps them. And I would say that maybe something that's unique is that in my journaling that I do at the end of so I'll get up, and I don't exercise every day, but on the days I do, I'll exercise, and then I'll shower and I'll eat, and then I do my personal growth and development reading. And in my journaling time, I will write out my top 3 to 5 max potential actions for that day that are aligned with my highest vision. And so I really strategize around making sure that I'm aligned to be in action that's strategic and going to help me take it to the next level. And then I meditate on that. So I'll actually visualize, let's say I have a client meeting, I'll actually sit and visualize meeting with my client, what kind of service I want to provide to them, what outcomes I want them to have. So I kind of tie it all together. Mm-hmm. And it's been really powerful for me.
So setting your intention early.
Yeah.
Has that been a game changer for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. The whole morning routine in and of itself has been, and it's that for me, one of my highest values is learning. So when I read, I fuel, and then it gives me ideas on how to coach and teach and structure my courses and all that stuff. So it's giving yourself the space and time to brainstorm every day. I think that people overlook that because we're so busy and there's so much going on, but that is really helps me have my whole day feel in alignment.
Mm-hmm. Do you plan out your entire day beforehand, or do you do that on a Sunday? What does that look like for you?
On Sunday nights, I plan out my week and I use Trello. And so I'll plan out my whole week and write down all of the appointments I have and different things. But then every morning I really visualize and look at my day. And as it changes through the week, so let's say on Sunday night, I planned something for Friday, but then my Thursday turned out differently than I thought. Then I might have a different schedule on Friday. So it's kind of a loose framework on Sundays. And then I do it really more strategically every morning when I'm looking at my daily routine.
Mm. So talk to me about your name of your coaching brand, NFA. What does that stand for?
Yeah.
And you can cuss on here, so it's
Okay,
fine.
cool. That's good to know. I actually have been on a podcast before where they wouldn't let me, so I had to modify it a little bit. But it stands for No Fucking Around Coaching. And the backstory is that when I was a kid, my dad and I wanted to do a volleyball league, and it was an adult only league. And so I said, "Hey, Dad, you get all the friends together, or I'll get all my friends together. You be the adult, and we'll be able to really kick ass in this league because I've got a whole bunch of kids that are on the volleyball team." And he was like, "Let's do it." So we got together, and when we were talking about the team, everyone said, "What's our team name?" And I said, "NFA, no fucking around." And everyone laughed and they liked it. So then through the years, when I would be on these competitive teams, like I've always been an athlete. And so, I'd run races with friends and I'd call us Team NFA. And then one day I was coaching recently in about the last year, and the client said to me, "You're really like my tough love dad, but you still have this soft side." And I said, "Well, I'm not fucking around about your transformation. I take this really seriously." And he laughed, and I was like, "Oh, that kind of worked." And so I was at a networking event. Like I live in Boulder, Colorado, so I was at the Boulder Chamber at a networking event, and I just kind of said it in my little 30-second pitch. And everyone laughed, and I was like, "Oh, that's catching." And then I'd see people around Boulder, they'd be like, "You're the NFA coach." And so I actually decided to rebrand my whole company to NFA coaching. And I like the silliness of it, but it's also got a really serious meaning in that, I do everything I know how to do to help
Mm.
people
No, I love
shift.
it. I think it's great. I think it's a great brand. I think, you're definitely right. It has that silliness feel, but it's like that. I'm not fucking around either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. So how did you get into coaching?
It was actually through my own personal downfalls. So I was in grad school and I was on track to be a professor. So I ended up leaving my 15-year marriage through having an affair. My next relationship wasn't working, and he was moving out of the house that we had moved into. And I was on the floor crying one night, and I was like, my relationship life sucks. And I had this critical moment where I was like, okay, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to figure out how to have a long term fulfilling relationship. And at the time, I had just started listening to podcasts, and I had run into this relationship podcast. And it turned out that the guy was in Boulder and he was doing a relationship course. And I didn't have any money. So my partner moved out. My ex husband lost his job. I had to go on food stamps to feed my kids so I could keep finishing grad school. And so I emailed this guy and I was like, "Please let me into the course. I'll do whatever it takes. I know I need to be there." And he ended up saying, "I don't do things for free. It's not good for you," which I'm so grateful for. I came up with as much money as I could, and then I offered to do work study. So anyway, through this course, I started learning skills, and I was like, "Oh, like relationships are a skill. You can actually learn how to be good at them." And at the same time, because I was in this course with a whole bunch of people that were really, from my perspective, wealthy, and I was poor because they paid I think it was about $5,500 to take this course if you paid cash. And that to me at the time was like an astronomical amount of money. And so I felt really inferior to the people around me. And so I was having these like conflicts. And I was talking to the coach who was running the course about it. And he's like, "Well, where is money on your value system?" And it was nowhere. And he's like, "Well, you might want to think about that." And so as I kept going, I went to another coach that he drew me to, and I did my value system, and I learned how to shift my values to wealth building. And I realized that all of these things that I had thought I was so bad at, it was really that I had just never learned how to do it. And so as I started to shift, I started to change, and all these people in my world were like, whoa, they could see the differences in me, in my relationships, in my self-worth and self-confidence, and in my money world. So now I have a 6-figure income through my coaching business. And because of those shifts that I had, I started to think, wait a second, I could be a coach. In the academic setting, especially, I was a sociologist, so we focused a lot on the problems. And I started teaching students from a kind of different mindset. And I realized that people are really hungry for solutions instead of just being educated about the problems. And so it just kind of unfolded in this way where I was like, oh, I could be a teacher still as a coach. I don't have to be stuck in the professor academic world. And so I just decided to go for it and
Well,
stepped into coaching.
that's a I don't even know what to say. I want to unpack like so much in that little answer there. Holy shit. 15 years divorced. Wow. Like talk about that. Like, so you said it was through, um, um, what'd you say? He left you? Is that how it
No,
worked?
I left my marriage through having an affair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
it's the other way around.
Yeah, often it
but, um,
is.
but, like talk about that. Like, so I mean, what was that? Just, 15 years of, just for the, people out there listening that might be having trouble in their marriage. Like, what was that
Yeah.
about?
We met actually, we were like first loves in high school. So I met him when I was 13 and we dated and we were like first loves. And then he moved away for several years. And then he came back when I was in my first year of college and we dated and I ended up getting pregnant and I dropped out in my sophomore year and we decided like, oh, he has a better chance to make more money. So I dropped out, decided to stay home with having our first baby. And then we had two more kids. I have three kids total. And in that, I think really I was 20 when I got married. So I didn't really know myself well. I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian family and I was kind of sheltered in a certain way.
Hmm.
And I just didn't really know myself well. And he came from a differently challenged background and our value was really on our family and we love our kids so much and we worked really hard to be a great family, but him and I didn't have relationship skills that were working. His parents had been divorced 6 times when he was growing up in the house. So he was kind of had a lot of interesting modeling going on. And then I had a different set going on. And so we did not know how to work through our problems at all. So we had a lot of really great connectivity, but then a lot of downs and didn't know how to articulate it or share with each other. And so through those years, I would add that I had a really victim based mindset where I really blamed him for pretty much everything.
Hmm.
And so I always pointed the finger at him and thought it was him that was all he was causing all the problems. And when I went back to school, um, let's add in he was an entrepreneur. We always had money issues, things felt really unstable. So I decided to go back to school. So finishing my undergrad, I started taking all these feminist classes and I started thinking like, oh, my relationship's a real problem. And it was just this wild ride of not knowing how to be in relationship. And that was really the reason I stepped into relationship coaching is because I was like, I'm the center of my problems. No one's going to fix this for me. I don't need to blame him. And in that, I think that, having an affair for all the people listening, I used to turn red and sweat when I would tell people this, or I wouldn't even share it. I would conceal it. And it was embarrassing and I felt a lot of shame. And now I'm just like, it's just it's feedback for you to know that things are out of alignment and it's okay. People do all kinds of stuff and it's a system to let you know that you're off track and that you need to start working on yourself. And so through that, my ex-husband and I now are dear friends. We have family dinners all together. We have family holidays. It's just been it's been a very transformative
Mm. Well,
process.
that's good, right? Like, that's good that you guys can do that because a lot of people would never come back from that.
Oh yeah. Yes. And we've both worked really hard on ourselves.
Yeah, well, it's empowering. Good for you guys. I mean, what would you say, or if someone listening to this right now is going through that, like, what would your advice be to them?
Which part? The divorce part?
Well, that and maybe like where you were at, like position you were in, right? Like, so something had to happen where you weren't happy that triggered that affair or whatever. Like, what
Yeah.
would you say to them?
I would say radical responsibility. Owning your part is really important. And it's part of my NFA mindset and attitude I share with people and coach them on is like, until you decide to be radically responsible for your outcomes, you're going to continue to blame other people, which takes away all your power. So if you don't like what you're seeing on the outside, you got to look within. So your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And if you don't like what you're seeing on the outer world, work on yourself. So to me, I always work with people on personal power and really getting connected in alignment with who they are and loving themselves. I think that self-confidence is to know, love, and trust yourself. And when you have that, then you have the foundation to build an interdependent, connected relationship. So, if you're in a stuck place in your relationships, take an assessment of where you're at, and don't beat yourself up, but go, okay, I'm the one that can change this. Read some relationship books, listen to relationship podcasts, go to a coach, go to a counselor, do whatever it takes to at least start to gain the tools and skills so that you can make a decision that's informed about deciding whether to get divorced or not. And then that way you can step into it in a much more empowered way instead of this blaming and victim way. And especially if you have kids, because, divorce is a challenge for everybody. And I think it helps everybody grow in a lot of ways. But if you can do it in a way where you can be more amicable and connected in your conversations, it's going to have, let's say it's going to have outcomes where you all get to grow from it.
And how are your kids dealing with it now? Like, I mean, I'm assuming since you're close with your ex, I'm assuming that everything's okay.
Yeah, it's been almost 7 years, so it's been a while. So the fallout initially was definitely challenging, and there's a lot of ups and downs that happen. And I notice in the couples that I've worked with, or, it's funny because I do a lot of business coaching, but every single business owner that I work with has relationship issues. And whatever you have relationship issues in, you bring into your business. So I end up working on this on a full spectrum, holistic approach to coaching. But, in that, the kids end up modeling you, and often they'll pit one person against the other, and it's a family systems issue, right? So like if the two parents have these habituated patterns of interacting with each other, the kids will start to align with different parents. And it's so the more clarity you can come to in how you need to empower yourself, the better I don't like to use the words better and worse, but the more your kids can benefit from learning from the experience.
Yeah, I agree with it 100%. So you guys get divorced. You're in a tough spot. You go on food stamps. Like, talk about that, like that part of your life.
That was rough. I'm so thankful for it now, but that was probably one of the hardest spots for me, was the money shame. It was like, I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. It was really hard because my daughter was actually applying to colleges, and we were on food stamps, living in subsidized housing, and I'm a grad student. So I felt very disempowered and like, how am I going to make money? There was actually a really low point for me where I like got online and started looking up sugar daddies. I was like, how safe is it to have a sugar daddy? Because I was so desperate and so worried. And my daughter's like writing all of her college entrance. They have to write a personal statement, and hers were all about growing up poor. And it was really, really demoralizing, and also really beautiful because I got to face my money shit. And that was one of the most empowering moments for me, because I realized, like, okay, this is my next void that I get to understand, and I get to shift my values, and I can do whatever it takes to figure out how to get out of this so that I don't recreate intergenerational poverty in my family.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. But now you have an actual course, as one of your products, money habits, right? Like, so obviously, you have that experience. Like, what are you teaching your course?
It is packed. I'm creating it as I go. It's one of those like create as I go, because I wanted to make sure that people were going to be drawn to it and want to purchase it. So it is, as I'm creating it, I'm like, wow, this is like this should be a $10,000 course.
What do you charge for
that?
Because
it's packed with so much value. It's $997. It's a 66-day course. It's 6 modules, and it is like, even just module 1, I'm giving everything I've done to empower myself. And I have spent, like, between grad school and coaching courses and money and all that stuff, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education. So I have a lot of experience and knowledge, and I am dumping everything into that course, because to me, when you're financially disempowered, it affects everything in your life. And I'm not just talking about people who are poor in money in the moment. I work with people who make millions of dollars and have money blocks. So it's this idea that if you are feeling blocked in your money, it has to do with your self-worth, your self-confidence. It affects your relationships. It's the number one things that people fight about in their relationships. So this course really is for anybody who has money blocks, which I have yet to meet anyone who doesn't have a money block in some area of their life. We work on mindset, habits, personal power, money and relationships, money mapping. There's just a ton of content. So they get a lesson every day for 66 days because there's research that talks about development of new habits takes 66 days.
How long are the classes daily?
They vary. Some are 15 minutes and some are an hour. And there's everyday calls to action. So people would be, you have journaling and do action steps that are very strategic and based on that day's lesson. So you'll walk away with, so far, people that are going through it don't do a lesson a day because it's pretty intensive. It takes a little longer than that, but you could do it in 66
What was your
days.
first course like?
My first course that I took or that I created?
That you created?
This is my first
Oh,
online course
really?
that I
So
created.
this is your first time in
Yeah.
daily classes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did you have any help or did you do this yourself?
I'm doing it all myself.
Well, I was just talking about before we started recording, like I'm looking at your website and it looks very, very professional. Like, I'm not very techie, so I kind of I struggle, but yours is legit. Like, how did you, who prepared you to be a coach? Like, was it something that you just watched a lot of YouTube episodes on how to, what helps you become a coach and create your material?
I would say in grad school, I was really fortunate to, as a graduate student, I got to teach over 2,000 students at CU Boulder. So they let grad students in our department teach. So, and we had this massive departmental fallout where we lost a whole bunch of professors in my specific focus. So I got to teach over 2,000 students. So I really learned how to develop a curriculum. I learned how to do public speaking. I learned how to teach. And then I got to do a fellowship, or not a fellowship, a research position with with this program called FTEP, which was the Faculty Teaching Excellence Program. So I got to interview all these teachers about what helps them be better teachers, and I got to do a ton of research. So I really got to fall in love with teaching, and I love it. Like, I am just born to teach. And in that, coaching is so integrated. A lot of what I do is teaching people and then coaching them, and it's this kind of interactive process. And so in my website development and in grad school, I think I learned to be a really good researcher. So I'm the type of person that I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to figure out how to do this. I just do a ton of research and then piece it together. So I did watch a lot of YouTube, lots of YouTube, and I just kind of did it and went for it. And I'm NFA really suits me well because I'm pretty much one of those people that's like, I see the outcome I want and I'm not fucking around and I'm going to work on it until I get there.
Not fucking around.
Yeah.
Well, my question is I hear Brene Brown say it all the time. She's like the queen of research. Like, how do you conduct your research? Like, what's the first place that you go to? Is it like the library? Like when you're doing, you said interviews, like let's say if I wanted to do research about leadership, how would I conduct that?
That's interesting because we're both, Brene Brown's also an academic. So there's online journals. So all of the scholarship that is being produced by the academic world is pretty much where you find all the stats and all the greatest research in the newest cutting edge world. So as academics, you have access to all of those academic journals. So that's one
place. You
guys
have a little bit of a little help there with the online journals.
Yeah. Really, when you look at someone who has a PhD, they've spent years researching. So you really develop that skill. But that's to say, let's say you're new here and you've never done it before. Definitely start with Google. Read everything you can. Type in leadership tips, leadership development, leadership research, leadership, anything you can think of, and just immerse yourself. You can become a self-educated master. Absolutely, you can. So I don't think that should limit anyone. So just start watching every video you can watch. Find some online courses, work with a coach. And if you need free resources, look up leadership podcasts. There are a ton. So I don't think there's ever a lack of information. It's just a lack of you applying and being willing to do the work.
Yeah, I agree. But also there's a lack of direction. Like people don't really know where to go. Like I know a lot of people that I hang out with have these inspirations and they want to do certain things, but they just don't know how to get it done. They don't know, like, like for you, right? So being like, you had the research, right? Like, how do you learn, but how did you learn about like funnels? How did you learn about products? How did you learn about online courses and workshops and stuff like that?
YouTube,
Yeah.
honestly. YouTube, yeah,
Pat
YouTube, and
Flynn
then
and
and
YouTube.
online courses. Like it's part of the reason I'm creating online courses is because I've taken a ton of online courses to help me succeed. So I think they're really valuable because, not everybody can pay for a personal coach, and not everybody can go to an intensive workshop
Mm,
because it might be cost prohibitive. So online courses are an incredible way to go. I mean, to get 66 days of coaching from me would be thousands of dollars. So it's like taking an online course, 997, learn from the comfort of your home, really great way to go. So I've taken multiple online courses in marketing and that kind of thing. And but honestly, YouTube, like really, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I read articles, I read blog posts, and then I just test stuff out and figure it out as I go.
I love it. Yeah, YouTube has been a huge tool for me. I had no clue how to launch a podcast. I had no clue how to edit anything. A lot of it was YouTube
Yeah, yeah,
inspired, and
exactly.
and it's a free resource. I mean, why not? Like.
Totally. I think it's brilliant. And podcasts for that matter. I mean, I would
Mm.
not be where I am today if it weren't for podcasts. It's why
Yeah.
I
Speaking of which,
love it.
you have a new podcast, right?
Yeah, I actually have two. My personal one is Max Potential Habits. And like I was saying, to me, podcasts are my probably my favorite value add to people because it's
Mm.
free learning on the go. And it's like I love doing podcasts because it was a critical. If I hadn't had access to podcasts, I don't know where I'd be. It was my entry into personal growth and development and coaching. And so I love doing podcasts and offering that value for people. And then I have another one with a co-host called Coach Cast Lab, and that is specific for coaches.
I could check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's cool.
What's your favorite podcast?
That I listen to? Oh, that's
Yeah.
a hard one. I couldn't say my favorite because I listen to so many different ones depending on what I'm needing to learn at the moment. Um, some that I've loved, the one that led me into relationship stuff was called Smart Couple.
Mm.
Love that one. I've listened. I mean, I have so many. Let's see. I'll look at.
Yeah.
I love
What's funny is
podcasts.
somebody asked me the same question, and I had to like go through my phone and remember because
I
it's
know,
like.
right? Well, it's weird because I listen to them every day, but it depends on my mood. It depends on where I need to go that day. I mean, I've listened to some across the, I'll just list like multiple for people because there's been so many good ones. This is going to sound funny. Shrink for the Shy Guy. It was directed at guys, but it's this confidence coach. And I had a lot of problems with confidence and self-worth. So Shrink for the Shy Guy, that was awesome. I listened to Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits. I just ran into DeRay. Do you know DeRay? You might know
Hmm.
him through Zach
Yeah. Yeah.
Before the Millions. Project Me with Tiffany Carter. She is really straightforward and awesome, and she does a lot of money coaching stuff.
That's awesome.
I just found Biz Women Rock. It's really great. Online Marketing Made Easy by Amy Porterfield.
Mm.
Brilliant for online stuff. She's got
Mm.
some really great value. Let's think. Optimal Daily Living gives a daily podcast that's really fabulous. In the beginning, there was one that was called uh, Codependency No More. That was
Oh.
huge for me because
Oh.
I was super codependent. And then Mentor Box,
Mm.
really great. Yeah, so I could
That's
go on and
awesome.
on. I
That
love
is.
podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you listen to Audible at all?
Oh yeah,
What book has been most inspirational for you?
the most. I mean, that's hard. I could. You
What's
want
your
me to give
favorite?
you
What's your favorite
several?
read? Like, what's your favorite read?
I mean, I own probably I've owned 5,000 books, so I have a massive library. So that's a really tricky question. But let's say for listeners, I started with codependency because I had massive relationship issues. So, Codependency for Dummies by Darlene Lancer was like the one that like changed. It was a $12 book that I would pay $1 million for. It was brilliant. Business. If you haven't read Byron Katie, she's
Mm.
incredible. Debbie Ford. She does shadow work, incredible. My main mentor is Dr. John DeMartini. He wrote a book about money called How to Make One Hell of a Profit and Still Get to Heaven. Brilliant. Really great for money blocks. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Books
Well,
are
speaking
amazing.
about money, like so I don't know how we're gonna go from books to money, but what's your number one tip for right now? Like money, like what if you had like 30 seconds to talk to someone, like what would your biggest tip be for money?
If you don't like where you're at in the money world, shift your values to becoming a money master, which means read every book you can, watch every video you can, listen to every podcast you can, and really start focusing on wealth building. Not for the sake of having things, because that's not actually wealth building, for the sake of building your assets and learning what it takes. I mean, success leaves tips, right? Success leaves clues. There is a path, and anyone that you look at who is wealthy, they have a value on building wealth. They don't spend their money frivolously. They think about how they're saving, earning, investing. They have a masterful mindset around money. So turn into the person you want to become. It's like in dating world, right? We go, oh, I want to date someone who's successful and rich and beautiful, but then you don't own those qualities. You've got to become the person who sees that you have those
Mm,
qualities.
mm,
So I think anyone can be wildly wealthy. You've got to just focus on it and learn the skills and then put them into action.
mm. I love that. You listen to Dave Ramsey?
I have before, yes.
Hmm. I think there's a Chris Hogan too. I think it's one of his students, or I think he has like a similar podcast where he talks about like his money advice would be like snowball effect, where you kind of like you start paying one bill and then you pay that off and you
Mm-hmm.
roll it into another, and then it turns into this large snowball effect. But I know what I love reading Warren Buffett's like ideas on the index funds. Like
Nice. Yep.
I love those, right? Like so it covers the entire market as opposed to like one or two stocks, right? So
Yep.
I suggest you guys go out there and read that. He did suggest like man, I'm blanking on his book, but his mentor, Warren Buffett's mentor, wrote a book, and I started reading that, and I made it maybe through 15 pages before I had to put it down because it was way over my head. And the way that I go at money, because money, everybody gets so frustrated with money because they feel like they don't understand it,
Yeah.
is you have to look at it like a video game, right? Like you're
Yes.
starting it out on level 1. Like the Warren Buffett's mentor book is like on level 15. Like I can't go
Yeah.
from, the introduction of investing to level 15. Like I have to go by level by level. So that's how you do it with, investing as well. It's like you got to start out with investing for dummies, and then you start learning the
Uh-huh.
vocabulary, and then you start learning the interest rates, and you just start working your way up and up.
Yes.
So for those listening, like don't get discouraged. Start out on level 1, work up to level 2, then 3, then 4, and then one day you'll be on 15, and then you'll be making some type of movie where you're Wall Street Journal or Wall Street banker success. Like I mean, it's just you just got to
That's
be
awesome.
patient. Yeah.
Yes, I want to add to that, and I love that you said that. It's so true. I think that was partly what I was so blocked on when I started was I was like, well, I don't know how to invest in stocks. I don't know how to do these things, and it seemed just like this almost mysterious skill, or it was like magic to me. It was like these people are just wealthy magically, and I would argue that even you got to start the step before that, because if you don't have the belief that you can be wealthy, you're going to constantly sabotage yourself. So the course that I created is very directed at the underlying unconscious blocks that are holding you back. So I break all that down before I teach some really practical money habits that are actionable. It's like you got to uncover the unconscious money blocks that are holding you back from even wanting to focus on building wealth,
Mm.
because we have so many, or the unconscious money blocks that are keeping you from getting past your set thermostat, where let's say you get to, a lot of people will go, oh, well, I had $5,000 in my bank account saved, but then an emergency happened and it always seems to get sucked dry. So you got to understand why that's happening to you so that you can then start to build your long-term wealth. So yeah, there's so much that goes into money magnetism, I think, and
Mm.
it's not actually that hard. It's not a challenging, mysterious process, but it's hard. We make it hard because we don't want to look at and face our own stuff around it.
Mm. Yeah, because it's like it's not just simple dollar bills. It's like everything that's emotionally associated with that, right? Like our
Yes.
parents passed down this belief of money, like your parents might have been tight with it, and someone else's might have been, spending it left and right, and it's like you might have this concept that you don't like money. It's just weird how that works, right? Like it's
Exactly.
just kind
Yeah.
of weird. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
I call it your money OS, your money operating system that got downloaded when you were a kid that you don't even really realize is operating your life.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, especially coming from a blue collar family, it was like you had to earn it, right? You had to earn your money if you wanted to spend it.
Yeah.
Things were tight. Depending, like, if my mom was, she was part time there for a while. She was an RN. She was part time, so you could definitely notice a difference when she was working part time. But it's like,
Yeah.
just be careful with your kids. Like, I don't talk about money with my kids, right? Because I don't want them to have a stigma about it. Like, I want them to learn for themselves about the value of money and how to invest. Like, I'll teach them how to invest money, but I don't want to create some kind of negative effect about money, because I want them to go out there and want to make enough for them, or make enough for what suits their lifestyles when they grow up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so like, I mean, speaking of kids, like, how do you teach your kids about money? Like, what's like the number one lesson that you try to teach them?
I love that you said that because I was just talking to my son about this, I think yesterday. Yeah, we were having a conversation. So, all the money he's making right now, we're having him save half of it and putting it into an index account. And so, it's really shifted. So, my kids grew up with a massive poverty consciousness because of the way that I think when my ex and I were married, we had massive ups and downs. Sometimes we were didn't have a lot of money, and I don't know that they noticed it when we were young because we always had food and we always had a house and things like that, but we were worried about money a lot. And then he would get like a really great job, and then he would not have a job, and it was all over the place. And so then when I became a single mom, and there were times where the kids had to share rooms, and I slept on the couch in the living room, and I didn't have a bedroom at all, and ups and downs and all around. And so they learned a lot of fear around money in those years, and a lot of resentment toward wealthy people, I would say, because they're in Boulder, Colorado, which is one of the wealthiest places in the country. And so they had this relative comparison of like them feeling poor and their friends being rich. And I grew up similarly. So it was like they got a lot of downloads in that area. So in the last few years, it's something that I've been really working to reconstruct with them. But it's been pretty embedded. So it's like my oldest daughter works her ass off, and she actually has a lot of money in the bank because she's so scared of not having money, but she works really, really hard. So it's something that I think I get to work to help them disentangle and deconstruct and reconstruct a new relationship to money. So I'd say that's in the works. It's one of
Mm.
those things that had I known when they were two what I know now, it would be a very different process.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I would say like right now, my advice would be to the new parents out there, just definitely start investing in 529s for your kids. Just because with the new changes, you can actually use that towards. If your kids are in private schools, you can definitely. I know in Maryland, you can use that for elementary, junior high, high school now, where it used to be just for colleges. I wish I had done that earlier with my kids, because it's similar to a 401k, but for school.
mhm.
You definitely do lose it if they don't go to school. Like, I think that was like back in the day with college. Like, if they didn't use it, you lose it, almost something like that. I'm not. I don't want to, like. I'm not the professional on that, but that's one piece of advice I would say to the new parents right now is, and research that crap, because
Yeah,
especially with, like, in Maryland, private schools that's what you do. You just go to private schools, and the prices around here are just continuously going up, and
yeah,
the 529s really help us out over here. But investing, like, if this is your first time thinking about it, like, you got to start somewhere. And I would definitely, I started out with investing for dummies just to get the
yeah,
terminology and the basics and the vocabulary, and then you start working your way up. And then
yeah,
next thing you know, you're making an online course for almost $1,000 to teach it, right? And then
yeah,
you're gonna be making a six-figure salary as a coach,
yeah.
like Amanda.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And
mean,
it's possible for anyone. And I
absolutely.
want to say a book that you're making me think of that would be really valuable for parents listening is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. it's so powerful in helping you get your mindset aligned with implementing habits that get you into, and I don't think he frames it as the term habits, but because I'm a habits coach, that's how I think about it. But setting yourself up for recognizing that asset building is what helps build your net worth, right? So it's around the mindset of shifting from poverty to wealth building mindset. And then there is, I love that you're giving specific tips. Once you get your mindset aligned in the right way, there are unlimited resources for you to learn how to build wealth. There's free books, YouTube, tons of coaches, financial advisors. It's everywhere. So really, it's about you getting aligned with knowing that it's possible, and then taking action in that direction.
Make sure you know the term fiduciary, because that's what you want to look for. I didn't know that at first. That's one of the things I did learn. Fiduciary. I hate saying that word. I feel like I'm saying douche or something like that. Fiduciary means that they have to look out for your
Yes.
specific needs, and
Totally.
they're gonna, they're not gonna screw you over. So make sure you know what I mean? Like, check that out. What was I gonna say? Yeah, but that's a great book recommendation. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, for sure. Definitely check that book out. Rich Dad Poor Dad. I love that
great
book.
It's fabulous. I've read it. I just reread it recently, and I'm like, I forgot how powerful this book is.
Yeah, and then Tony Robbins' book too. It's like huge. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like thick. It's like 600 pages.
Yeah, Money Master the Game.
Yeah, Money Master the Game. That was a good one too.
Yeah.
That's pretty. It gives you a lot of specifics in there too. That's where I learned about index funds, and I think he has like plans in there, like from like some of the top makers and earners in the world. Just they're kind of like a little sneak peek in their portfolio. So yeah, I mean it's good stuff here, man. Like, this is, maybe I'll sell this podcast.
Go for it. Give me, you got to cut me in.
10%. But yeah, so how can people connect with you, Amanda?
I have all my resources available on nfacoaching.com. So go there. I've got, like we were saying, I've got a podcast. So I've got a lot of free stuff. So I've got free downloads. I've got a podcast. I've got a really inexpensive group coaching call every week that's called Max Potential Habits. I've got this online course. I will be releasing a book by the end of the year. I've got all kinds of good stuff there. So nfacoaching.com, you'll find everything there. I'm on Instagram at NFA Coaching, if you go to NFA Coaching. And then I love LinkedIn. I give a lot of articles and stuff on LinkedIn. So similarly, NFA Coaching. I'm also on YouTube, but you'll find all those videos and stuff. All of them are under NFA Coaching. And if you're interested in money tips, I have a free money magnet guide on my homepage. And then I also have a habits video. So feel free to check all that stuff out and listen to my podcast. I give tips every week.
I love it. No fucking around here. So to end it, I want to ask you, let's get real here. Like, so when it's all said and done with, like, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, wow. I love that you asked. That's such a great question. I did
a spot or anything,
No, I love it. I love those kind of questions. I did an inner mentor guide recently of meditation, and it walks you through meeting your inner mentor, like looking and meeting yourself 20 years from now or at the end of your life. And it was a really awesome meditation I had. I ended up like crying and having this beautiful moment with my mentor, who at the end you have her give you, or if you're a guy or a gal, depending. So my inner mentor gave me a gift, and then you see what's inside of the box, and inside of the box was filled with letters from all the people that I had helped. And it was like, I just started crying so hard. It was really cool. So for me, I want to be remembered by how I helped people become their best selves and really thrive in every area of their life. And, that means with their sense of meaning and purpose in their relationships, in their parenting, in their money world. I think people suffer a lot, and it's not that I'm trying to end suffering, because I think you have to have challenge in order to grow. So it's not that I want to end suffering. It's that I want people to live an inspired, meaningful life. And that's super important to me. So I want to be remembered as somebody who helped others do that.
I love that. But going with the suffering thing, I think suffering could be good, right? Like we
Oh,
grow out of
totally.
that. We
Yeah. Yeah.
grow 100%, right? Like
Yeah.
we grow from the fire that, turns us into ashes, right? Out of the
Absolutely.
ashes we rise.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So when I say like I don't want to end suffering, and I don't when I say people really suffer, it's like I notice when I'm working with people, they can have this really miserable state, and I know because I was there of feeling helpless and stuck and alone and imprisoned and like shitty, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's and that means the more that you work on yourself, the more that you get to help other people, and the more that you get to do exactly what you were born to do, and suffering is part of that. I wouldn't be where I am had I not suffered. And so it's like it's not this idea of eliminating suffering, it's more like getting to do what you love to do, where you wake up inspired and you get to do your life.
Mm,
And you're going to have challenges still, for sure,
mm.
but you get to be more, you get to choose your challenges.
Yeah, the freedom, right? The freedom to be who you want to be,
Yes,
right? Like, so
whatever that is for
yeah,
you.
whatever. And you were talking about assets earlier, right? With investing, I think the one asset that people don't think about is us, right? Like you are one of your assets when it comes to investing. Like if you don't invest in yourself, then you're not gonna earn a lot of interest on the money that you're trying to invest in on, right? Like, so
Absolutely.
you gotta
Yeah.
invest. You are the biggest asset
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
portfolio. So
Right.
Amanda, this has been an awesome conversation. Thanks for coming on the show, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks so much, Trey. It's been awesome to be here. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Amanda for coming on the show. I want to say thank you to you, the listener, for downloading this episode and spending time with me. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and really, really be thankful for what you have. I want to take the moment and say that I'm grateful for my family, my wife and my kids, and I'm very excited about where we're headed in the future with the podcast and life in general. Thank you guys for downloading. If you want to follow me again on social media, you can do that on Twitter at DownsTrey, Instagram at TDowns80, on Facebook at Trey Downs. Hit me up. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are going through, man. I really like listening or reading and staying in contact with everyone who listens to the show. It's a great community, and it's fun to be able to interact, and I just love it. I love it, everything about it. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. I really hope that your holiday is a special one and that you take the time to be grateful for the things that are in your life. All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later.